look at this, there's a lot of junk in here we're going to be able to cut.
Yeah, there really is. There's a lot of stems per acre, but once you drop down that bench, it gets a little bigger trees and a little bit bigger trees on the point.
Wide open. That's the other one.
It is very wide open. All right, guys, we're here off the edge of a food plot on the Prairie Hollow property. We're getting ready to do a bedding area thicket. This area has been super hot the past couple years. Food plot's just up on the ridge top over here behind our shoulder. This is obviously, we got some topography in here. We come off the ridge top, drops down to a big drain, another saddle across the way over here. Between this saddle and the food plot, there's just been a lot of activity the past couple seasons we've seen in the fall. And currently right now on that food plot, there's 2 extremely good deer working that food plot. If you guys follow along on social media, you've seen some of those deer. Based on the patterns throughout the fall, based on the patterns that we're seeing with those deer, this is an area, and because of the composition of timber, the topography, we would like to, if you will, isolate some deer in this area during daylight hours. So what we're going to do is come in here and cut and show you guys kind of how we're creating these bedding areas. Chad and I were just talking about, based on the topography and some of the bigger trees in here, because this hasn't had a timber harvest yet, we don't want to remove the value of that. So we're going to come in and kind of do a unique shape.
We found some kind of areas of lower value timber, some junkier timber, some spots that we can thin, where there's some younger timber that's no value but could be in the future.
For sure.
And then there's some really steep areas in here too that we're going to kind of avoid, because obviously you don't expect the deer to be bedding on the steep areas.
Not quite like that.
Some that's lesser slope, and then a little bench that we're going to use and kind of connect the two.
But the most important thing is identifying these areas based on past experience, trail cameras, using the topography, and then the timber composition in the area to help dictate where these areas should go. We're going to get probably pretty aggressive in these areas that have very low value, picking a couple of decent trees and cutting a lot around them.
We're also in an area that we've suspected for years the whole area they have bedded in.
Yes.
And we're doing this more to
Isolate
kind of tighten up the
concentrate.
areas. We know more specifically where they'll be bedding instead of just a whole drainage.
Yep.
We can kind of make areas a lot better and more choice bedding.
That's right. And then what that's going to feed though is not only that food plot, the saddle, but we're going to move a stand and hunt this food plot actually on a completely different wind than we have in the past couple of years. And we want to make sure when we're cutting this bedding area in that with the slope, how we're going to access with the wind, this tree we've already picked up closer to the edge of the food plot, that we're not going to be spooking or alerting these deer that we're anticipating bedding here. Because truthfully, it's 100 yards away. Yeah. It's like, wow, that's super close to bedding. But during early season when the deer are moving, the last couple minutes of daylight, we need to be relatively close. But with the topography, with the slope, we know we can get that close without alerting them. So this is a prime area.
And it's also,
I'm excited.
You probably can't see it on the video, but it's steeper to one side. There's kind of a drain that's going to feed into that food plot that we hope that they come from here and go into the food plot closer to the tree stand.
For sure. So we're going to get to work. We're going to show you kind of what it looks like beforehand and afterwards, and get your guys' thoughts. Let us know what you think down below. Here's this slope right here. Lots of stems per acre. Yes, there are white oaks. In here, we're going to be selecting a couple of the good ones and then cutting out and thinning it around a lot of the other ones. They're stacked in here very, very tight. So this is going to help, even though we're cutting what a lot of people would say valuable trees, we're actually going to make it a lot healthier. So tree stand is going to be right up through there. Food plots up here. Let deer work out of the cut area here, up the drain to the stand. And here's the other thing too. You look in here and there's like zero vegetation on the ground. Imagine when their leaf fall. This is going to be absolutely wide open. So if we make this preferred bedding in here, give this a little bit of growing season left, we'll have some resprouts and new vegetation coming on, but all the treetops, the canopies, they're going to be down on the ground. They're going to automatically bed here this year, even though we haven't had a full growing season to come back. Just because you look around and it's wide open in this area, where we know typically, let's say broad area, acres and acres that they like to bed in, we're going to make them bed right here.
Another point, the vegetation we have had a prescribed burn in here one time. Look at what vegetation you have. It's sassafras.
Low bush blueberry.
That's what we have, and it's because they're very shade tolerant and disturbance tolerant. So
we're going to have some more disturbance here in a second.
Yeah,
and
we're going to open it up and have more than just sassafras. Rather than just try to kill the sassafras, we're going to open it up and let some other stuff grow.
And that's the value of the added sunlight that's going to be in here. So it's a little overcast today. We're not going to see this incredible amount of open light here after we cut. But on some days, you can come into a dark area timber, cut, and it's just lit up with the sunlight. So you know you're making a difference pretty rapidly. So let's get to work. Let's do some cutting. Well, we just wrapped up one heck of a little cut in here. This cut's pretty unique from the standpoint of there's going to still be a harvest after we've done this cut. And so you'll see more trees in and around here than you more like would be used to in other cuts we've done. But there's still a lot of debris on the ground, sunlight getting in, and it's gonna be fantastic. Just really love the spot. But there's a couple things I want to point out to you guys. You know, with some of the trees that we've selected to cut and why we may have, there's some cool things to learn from them. So we'll show you that here in a sec.
Here's a white oak that we cut, and a lot of people are pretty hesitant to cut any white oaks in the timber because of acorns, but when you go in and look, a lot of times you can pick trees. This one's suppressed by, it's got 2 or 3 nice black oaks here right next to it. If you look at it on the side, it doesn't look too terribly bad. It's got a little crook in it, but sometimes it's got a little bit of a flat bark, some abnormalities to the bark on the base of the tree. And then you get down and look, and once you cut it, there's a lot of, in your mature timber, a lot of these these smaller trees aren't necessarily younger, they're just suppressed. And a lot of times you cut into them and you'll find either decaying spots in them, dead spots. You'll cut them that are like a shell of a tree because they're so suppressed, they're just dying, holding on barely. And you're gonna make those trees healthier cutting these out.
Well, there you have it. There's one cut done. We got some more to do today, so we'll get rolling. But stage is set, really pretty much everything else. Let nature just run its course. This will have prescribed fire down the road and additional timber harvesting, but we're ready for fall in this area. We'll go up to the food plot, do a little bit of edge feathering. But hopefully this is enough encouragement with the additional sunlight, the forage, the cover, you know, in this general area that is the most preferred right here in these small little acres, acre and a half or so that's been cut and treated. Hopefully that's going to hold some deer tighter to this food plot. We'll get them on a pattern and have a chance at harvesting. So we'll see. On to the next one.